Greetings to all those who need a break from life and have taken the time to let me hold your ear hostage for a short period of time. Welcome to Groove with Portia, the extended QuaranTOLD edition. I'm your host, Portia Booker, and yes, this is my real name. Groove with Portia targets those who are curious, eager, and hungry for new information that can aid in their personal and professional development. Someone once told me, if you want to know something, ask. The answer is always no until you do. I ask and I bring back the answers in the form of an expert. So before I dive into my topic for today, I want to introduce my guest who is joining me remotely. Welcome, Miss Rennee Hubb. Welcome, Rennee. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure to have you on the show because you have a very interesting story to share with our listeners, especially right now. We're still in the season of COVID. It's also the holiday season, and we got to have some hope in here. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
So, for our listeners who are not familiar with Miss Rennee Hubb, she is a member of the Victorious Life of Faith Church, where Elder Victor L. Fur is the presiding pastor. She is the leader of the outreach ministry, Have Hope and Victory for Everyone, and serves with the culinary ministry. Rennee is also the author of From Bound to Found. She's also the co-host for a Facebook Live show titled Let's Talk About It with Angie and Rennee. Rennee's passion and purpose are to inspire and make a lasting impact. So, Rennee, definitely once again, thank you again for joining me today. I'm excited. So, National Procrastination Awareness Month is housed in December. So, did you know that there are 5 types of procrastinators? The perfectionist, who is afraid to start a task because they get stressed out about every detail and getting it right. The dreamer, who enjoys making the ideal plan more than actually taking action. Then you have the avoider, who is scared to take on tasks that they think they can't manage. They would rather put off work than be judged by others when they end up making mistakes. You also have the crisis maker, who pushes back work until the last minute. They find deadlines, the crises, exciting and believe that they work best when being forced to rush it. And lastly, you have the busy procrastinator, who has trouble prioritizing tasks because they either have too many of them or refuse to work on what they see as an unworthy of their effort. So, Rennee, what category or categories do you fall in?
Listening to you, that last one. What was the last one again? The title?
The busy procrastinator.
Yes, that's me. I'm the busy procrastinator. I had to actually take some time out and say that I cannot take on anything else because I will have 20,000 things on my plate, come up with 20,000 things, and try to work on all of them at the same time. And I had to really sit back and say, you know what? I can't take on anything else. I'm going to take a step back and prioritize and actually work on 2 to 3 things per year. So that's definitely me.
You know what? I can agree with you there, Rennee. My problem is I fit into multiple categories depending on the month. So, like,
Mm,
for example, I can see myself, I am a perfectionist. I'm guilty of that. Like, if
yeah.
it ain't coming out pristine, like, when you have to iron your clothes when you get to work, if it has one
Yes.
little wrinkle on it, I'm throwing that shirt out. I'm putting on another one. I
Yes.
can't have no wrinkles and nothing. Then I'm also the dreamer. I'm like one of those people that thinks of ideas from the time they
Yes.
wake up to the time they go to sleep.
That's me. Yes. So I
And
guess I have to
also,
agree with you.
then also the avoider, because the perfectionist in me wants it to be perfect when it's out there, you know?
Yes.
Then also, like we were talking earlier before we started, the interview, I used to be a television producer. The crisis maker, when I was a TV producer, you're on deadline every
Yeah.
day. So you
Yeah.
have to meet that deadline by, whether it's 3 a.m., 2 p.m., 5 p.m., whatever it is before your newscast airs. So sometimes I still find myself in that same boat where I have to
Mm.
get it, I can get things done when I'm under a tight deadline. And I feel like that's what makes my heart race. And I feel like I'm part of the cardiac kick club. But, then also I'm guilty of being the busy procrastinator because I have so many irons in the fire that it's almost like, which one do I need to finish first? So I need to follow
Yes.
your example, Rennee, of setting aside 2 to 3 projects a year or maybe a month, 2 or 3 big ones.
Yes.
So how do
Yeah.
how do you kind of prioritize that? Do you use lists? Do you know, do set one thing on top of the other? Like how do organize yourself to get those 2 to 3 things done?
This year, I did things differently because I just launched a new brand. And with that, I actually wrote things out. Like I have a big whiteboard in my living room. And looked at all the steps I needed to do to get this launch. And normally I would be working on that and then working on another project, but I focused on just that one individual project and I had different umbrellas under it. And for me, I found that to really actually help me to see what's in front of me and understand, okay, I can get all of these done and put the time frames that I wanted to get them done. That actually helped me. Normally, I would just say, this is what I want to do. Let me get it done. But I actually put a time frame on each little project that I had. And I think for me, that helped me organize and really kind of become realistic and not just set myself up for failure.
I love the whiteboard. Don't you remember that? Like when you were in elementary school and the
Yes.
teachers had the whiteboard where they would put your
Yes.
questions and you could see the big picture. You know, I,
Yes.
I think sometimes when we're adults, we sometimes forget about those little things that we learned that really meant so much to us growing up, you know.
Yes.
For me, Rennee, I'm a writer too. I have a notebook that I just put ideas in, and it's called Plans for World Domination. It's on the
Oh, I
very
love
front
that.
cover, and that book that I have that I carry around with me whenever I leave the house, even if I'm just coming downstairs in my house to have breakfast, I write down ideas for everything, whether it's, potential podcast ideas, radio
Mm-hmm.
shows, products, if I ever get into the product business. Um, so that notebook to me, and just when I see that reminder of plans for world domination,
Yeah.
makes me think of when you're a kid and you're watching your favorite, TV show and they have that one little slogan. For me, that's always been my slogan, plans for world domination. I get it from Pinky and the Brain.
Yes. That sounds like, where did I hear that at?
Yep. Pinky in the Brain, so definitely I can agree the importance of writing things down and setting a timeline and also being accountable.
Yes. Yes. That makes that right there also is something that I have written down. I have accountability to kind of keep myself accountable. And I count up the cost, like how much does this cost me? How much does it cost me financially? How much does it cost me in time? And also what is my expected outcome? What do I expect the outcome to be? Because it's one thing to have a plan and to have a goal, but what is it that you want out of that? It's easy to just write, this is the goal, but if you don't know what you're expecting or what you desire your outcome to be, then basically you're just writing stuff to be writing it.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes we forget, like I said, those little things, the
Mm.
importance of writing things down. Because I mean, when you're an adult, if you have kids, if you have
Mm-hmm.
multiple jobs, if you have fur babies like me who are, like a little kid too, if you do so much, you'll forget those little things. I mean,
Yes.
I'm still old fashioned, Rennee. I take a list to the grocery store so I don't overspend. Cause
Yes.
Cause Wally World, it's like
Yeah.
going to Disney.
Yes. Get in so much trouble,
I
especially
know.
when you're hungry too.
Oh, don't even go there. You walk past the produce, then of course, what do they have right there? Especially around the holiday season, you got the
Uh-huh.
patty pies, you got the
Yes.
pumpkin, you got them little Christmas cookies with the sprinkles on them, and
Yes.
those things to me have a funny taste, so I avoid them like the bubonic plague. I'm just saying, you you can get
No.
so distracted.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Indeed.
That's why I tell people, I try to be very simple with life now, whether it's just the trip to the grocery store or even when I love long drives, Rennee. That is my way of rejuvenating myself. So I have a friend who lives, between here and Pennsylvania. So I'll go out to their house maybe once or twice a week. Even just the drive out there just helps to give me that second burst of energy.
Yes.
So, I think when it comes to procrastination, we just have to be accountable.
We do.
I ask my friends all the time when they're complaining, well, I didn't get this job. Well, I want this to change. I want that to change. I ask them, well, how bad do you want it?
I like that. Yeah,
I
I
mean,
do.
you're up here complaining about the person who sits next to you got the promotion, or
Yes.
the lady at the grocery store who was in front of you that took forever. It it could just be any
Yeah.
little thing. But in reality, what can you do to make things better for yourself?
Yes.
And don't
Yeah,
get me wrong, we all complain about something, but I think what we forget is we have our own power to change. And I
we
think,
do.
I think the avoider procrastination is big within all of us at some,
Hmm.
point in our life, you
I
know.
definitely agree with you on that. I do. I do. And I heard something years ago, and it stuck with me. I think his name was a pastor named Miles Monroe, and he said that the greatest potential is in the graveyard. And I was like, why in the world would somebody
Mhm.
say that? And he said, because it's full of so much potential that never happened. And when I think about that phrase that he said, that's how a lot of us are. We have so many dreams and goals and visions and ideas laying inside of us, but we've allowed procrastination and also fear to grip us to the point that the ideas are just laying dormant and they never come out because of that.
Mhm.
And I was like that for years. I had the dreams, the vision, the ideas, but I let fear and just saying I'll do it next year, I'll do it the next year. I let that sit. And when I finally, like, my eyes became open, it's like a fountain that just has not turned off. And it's been that way for like 5 years now, just flowing with ideas and goals and visions and purpose. So I definitely understand that.
You're the second person to bring up that quote about the richest place in the world is the
Yes,
graveyard.
graveyard. Yes.
And when somebody told me that, Rennee, my sense of humor is just terrible. I started laughing. I literally started laughing when the person told me that. I said, well, I'll be. And they said, yeah. And they said, look at all the people that
Yes.
let their dreams
That's
go.
right.
They took it with them to the grave because they
That's
were too
right.
afraid to step out on faith.
That's right. Yes.
I said, I said, so let me go grave robbing for some ideas. How some people, they used to talk about the grave robbers back in,
Yes.
like the 1800s and stuff because they would bury people with like jewelry and stuff.
Yeah, if they would go
Hey,
digging for it.
let me pick their brain for some ideas that they never pursued. I'll do them.
Yes.
I'll live out their dreams for them,
That's right. That's right. I mean, you have to think that way. And I try to get up every day determined. My family, they laugh at me. What are you coming up with now? And I'm just like, when you have ideas and stuff in you, rather, if it makes my biggest thing, I always talk about impact over popularity. I don't care if your idea impacted one person. Guess what? It was meant for that one person.
Yep.
And, don't let the numbers fool you.
Yeah, I mean, because sometimes numbers are a little skewed. I mean, for example,
Yes.
you can have, let's say if you just launched a podcast yesterday, you can have
Mm-hmm.
10 people tune into it and really only
Mm-hmm.
one person really enjoyed it. The rest of them could have just
Right.
listened to 2 minutes of it or 5 minutes,
That's right. That's
So
right.
I agree with you there 100%, Rennee. Definitely. So, Rennee, this year, has been a very painful year for all of us in our own individual way. Now, I know that you have experienced lots of loss this year. You've
Yes.
had 4 of your family members pass away from COVID in a 60-day period. So, explain to our listeners how you have coped with losing so many close members of your family in such a short time.
Well, I know, I'm not sure if you know the background, but losing my grandfather, then my grandmother, my niece, and my nephew, it was definitely devastating, not only to me, but my family. But to help me through the process of, healing, I launched a new brand called Inspiring to Live. And Inspiring to Live includes daily messages where I'm just encouraging people to live, encouraging them to walk out their purpose, focus on their vision, and really just let them know that like better days are coming. And going through that process and coming up with daily messages is helping me to heal and helping me to just get a better understanding that things are going to happen in life, but it's how we handle them and how we go through that process. It's really been helping me.
And that's amazing, Rennee, that you were able to, despite the loss, you were able to gain something, inspiration through it all.
Yes.
And I think, like what we were talking about earlier, when you have a different level of faith, it's never an easy transition whenever you lose somebody, because you can't think of anything else outside of that person being gone. And it's
Yes.
it's kind of like that bittersweet thing, right? You launched this new brand, but it would have been nice to have your family members here to see that.
Yes, it definitely would have been great. And that actually, for my niece and nephew, like that was the plan, especially for my nephew. He went in for a kidney transplant, and unfortunately, things didn't go the way that we expected and projected them to be. So I definitely thought, that he would definitely be here to help move forward. But in losing all of them as well, I found a new vision. I found a new purpose. And at first, it was from bound to found, and then it went from being bound to being found to actually inspiring people to live. So it's like I was coming to an end with one thing, and something new was birthed out of the tragedy.
Absolutely. And Rennee, you know, you lost was it your grandfather first, or was it your nephew?
My grandfather passed away on June 6th. We lost my grandmother on July 6th, my niece on July 20th, and my nephew on July 22nd. All of this happened in 2020.
Wow, and each one of these were COVID related. Now, were they in close proximity to each other during this time, or did one just kind of visit the other?
Well, only one was COVID related. That's my grandfather. My grandmother, she passed due to just complications with her heart. My niece
Mhm.
passed from cancer, and my nephew passed from kidney failure.
Wow, I mean, all different, but also still it also makes you wonder, you know what did COVID really do here, and did you live with your grandparents? Did you visit them often?
Before COVID, I was able to. Was very active with helping them with medicine and goes to the store, supporting them. But when COVID hit, I think the last time we were able to physically see them was February. So I did not get a chance to see my grandfather before he passed. My grandmother, believe it or not, I was able to see her a week before she passed away, physically go see her. And she was so surprised because I hadn't been able to see her. And for my niece and nephew, they were in the hospital, and unfortunately, we were unable to see them physically.
Yeah, yeah, it's a very interesting year with COVID, because we've lost a few family members this year in my family. None due to COVID, but we did lose a very close friend to COVID. So I
Mhm.
definitely can relate there, because this person was like, to me, a second mom to me, who
Yeah.
passed from COVID. And one of the things that me and my mother talk about all the time is just really how short life is.
That's right.
You know, that despite the loss, there is still beauty in life.
Yes.
So let me ask you this. The Your brand that you have created, Inspiration to Live, did that come to you as like a vision after you lost your grandparents and your niece and nephew? Was that something, an idea that you had talked about with them before they passed?
Believe it or not, Inspiring to Live started out as a hashtag that I started in 2017. And I was just like, oh, this sounds nice. I like it. And I used it. But it wasn't until they passed and I took a break from everything that I realized that it was something that's been there all this time. I just had no idea what the purpose and the meaning behind it was until I lost them. That's when I understood, I really understood that I should be inspiring people to live.
Absolutely. And Renee, I know that in your bio you had mentioned that you've dealt with some mental health issues throughout your life. And with the loss of both of your grandparents and your niece and nephew, how did you get through mentally? What was kind of like your coping mechanism through that?
My my faith and praying and really leaning on the word of God and leaning on God. And I actually, I battle with being able, do I talk to my pastor and say, this is what's going on? But I actually set a meeting up with him and I was able to really sit down and process my feelings and talk about, I'm dealing with this, I'm having a bad day. And that's how I was able and how I'm still able to get through. Lots of times we tend in our community to hold things in and we want to try to be strong because I'm normally the strong one. But it's nothing wrong with sitting down and talking to someone to let them know I'm dealing with this. I'm having a hard time. How do I get through this process? Because some things we just can't handle by ourselves.
Hmm. And that's the importance of when we do have our faith in God. He doesn't give us understanding all the time for a reason.
That's
Because,
right.
and I tell people that, like, you know, God works in mysterious ways all the time, but he wants to keep a relationship with you. So he's not going to always give you the answer that you want right then and there.
That's right.
He wants you to constantly lean on him. Renee, I will tell you, I'm very vocal about mental health and getting our community to really take heed to their
Yes.
mental health.
Mhm.
Because think
Yes.
about it, from the time that we are born, especially if you grow up, in the hood, just being African American, we're born into trauma. Let's be realistic. We are,
Yes, we are.
you
Yes, we
know,
are.
whether we grow up in the hood, even if we grow up in the suburbs, we already have that label on us. You're African American, society sees us as a threat, you know, so you have those already going around you. And then to top it off, if you grow up in a religious household where mental health is often met with, well, just pray it away to God, just ask
Yes.
God for forgiveness. What does that do to us? That
Yeah.
puts you in even more of a bind and makes you not feel comfortable even bringing it up. I applaud you, Renee, for, going against that stigma, talking to your pastor and really getting a second opinion on it, because that's what helps us to heal. I've struggled with my mental health for the past 5 years. Like what we talked about before this interview. When I walked away from my TV job, people may think, "Oh, well that probably wasn't that hard." You have no idea how hard that was for me. Walking away from something I worked so hard to get. But I had to admit to myself it was killing me. Working those late nights, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Sunday through Thursday, I couldn't do it anymore. And then the place that I worked just wasn't very welcoming. I didn't have that home sense and I was alone. I lived out of state, brand new city, brand new state, no family, no friends down there. So I took a leap of faith taking that job. But one thing that I learned is that resilience, resilience in those times really shines.
Yes. You said something that's so key. You said that the hours were long, but the money was good. And lots of times that blinds a lot of us. We look at
Hmm.
the factor, I'm making the money, I'm gaining the status. But if mentally it's breaking you down, meaning that you're not happy, it's more of a struggle. Those are things we have to look at, but we tend to push that aside because society says if you're making the money, you're in a new town, you're doing something great, something big, and we neglect the inside. We neglect the heart, we neglect our mind. And that's why a lot of people, you hear people having nervous breakdowns. You hear people, going off on family members or going off at their job because they neglected their mental health. They neglected their feelings and things that were going on the inside, worried about how would it look to people on the outside.
Absolutely, you're right about that. And society has conditioned us to not show any emotion. When I was a
Yes.
television producer, that's a standard in that industry. You're not
Mm.
allowed to show any emotion, even if it's something tragic that hurts. You have to be
Um,
like the Tin Man. And I think that's another reason why, especially in the African American community, a lot of our men suffer in silence. A lot of our men are damaged on the inside. But how can they really put their pride to the side when society has put a label on them? you know so that's why it's important to have those conversations about mental health, and have open arms to somebody who's hurting, somebody who's struggling. Don't meet them with, oh, just pray it away, like I got often. Or my favorite one, I'm just trying to have a nice day. So so I'm serious. I've been met with that a few times too, but it's like, do
wow.
you not realize that makes somebody even more reserved and not
Yeah,
open?
it does.
You
It
know,
really does.
we need to spread more love, more openness, and
Hmm.
being, just listening, actively
Yes.
listening, because people tell you a
Yes.
lot about them when you listen.
Yes, they do.
I'm,
Yes, they do.
I'm a firm believer in that. You know, and I think this year definitely people have needed a listening ear more than they have ever needed it.
Yes. Yes, I tell you. Um, you said something when you were talking about the Black males in the community and just, being resilient. And I know for me, raising my son, I always showed him love and I love you and gave him kisses and hugs and was very, people like, you're gonna make him soft. And I'm like, what is making a male soft? No,
Right.
because when they go out in the world, they're already beat up. I'm showing him that he is loved and showing him that it's okay to love. And we don't do that. We tend to, oh, you're going to make that child or make that person soft, or you're going to make them, they're going to be weak. No, you're showing them that it's okay to have emotions. And that's something that we don't do in our community.
Absolutely. You are absolutely right. And then to also piggyback on that, Rennee, is that a lot of our young African American men do not have a
Hmm.
positive role model,
Oh, that's so key.
that
Yes.
actually
Hmm.
can show them that there's more to life
Yes.
than just selling dope on the corner,
That's
or
right. Right.
trying to be the next LeBron James, or
Yes.
trying to be the next, rapper, Chance the Rapper,
Hmm.
whoever. So we need those positive influences to also
Yes.
show our young men that they can be whatever they want to be.
That's
There's more
right.
options for us. So, Rennee, outside of you being an evangelist, you and your sister also have a catering business. So,
Yes.
I love me some food. I'm sure our listeners do too. So, what's on the menu? Y'all got some holiday stuff planned, or what's going on with that, Rennee?
We have our famous potato salad. That was a recipe that's been passed down. We have baked beans. We have collard greens. We're a soul food based company. Our meatballs that we make. We have fried chicken, baked chicken. You name it, we have it.
So I must ask then, what is the secret ingredient in this potato salad? Because if it's been passed down for however many generations, it must have one key ingredient that keeps it moving along.
We do. My sister gonna get me, so I can't say too much, but I can say that a lot of people's potato salad is mayo based, and our potato salad is mayo based, but we also have mustard in it as well.
Wow, that's the first. One of my other friends makes potato salad that is
Hmm.
not mayo based.
Hmm.
Theirs is made a little different. I think it has ranch in it. And
Wow. Okay.
don't get me wrong, it's actually pretty good. Now, I'm probably gonna get hate mail for this. I'm not a big ranch person. I'm not.
Me either.
It's not that I can't stand it or anything. It's just not my cup of tea. I think
Yeah,
ranch is, an acquired taste.
it
Kind of like,
definitely is.
when you drink coffee. Coffee
Yeah.
is an acquired taste. I prefer my coffee dark, no sugar, no
Oh my
cream.
gosh. Oh no.
Yeah, I like my coffee just like I love my sense of humor and my sense of humor and the person I am, super strong. So, I no, no cream, no sugar, just dark like my
Oh.
soul and my sense of humor. So,
Oh no.
so it's always interesting to me when I hear of people who have catering businesses, especially for soul food, because I grew up eating that. My great grandmother, she would make collard greens or mustard greens, depending on which
Hmm.
holiday. The potato salad, sweet potato pie.
Yes.
And our sweet potato, I mean not sweet potato, our potato salad is mayo based. So, and it's been passed down. I have the recipe from my great grandma, so I'm looking forward, to the holidays and being able to get in on that holiday soul food because it's one thing I can say about this time of year is that I look forward to the food. But I mean, this year is going to be different because we're not going to have people over because of COVID. So, Rennee, what is your plans, to celebrate this holiday season, despite the loss that you've had this year?
We had actually we had planned to go to North Carolina to spend it with my aunt and her children, but due to COVID, we unfortunately we can't go. So we're actually trying to throw something together here, my sisters and I, with their children and mine. So we're going to have a local Thanksgiving, just real small, immediate family meeting, just us at home this year.
So I guess my next question is who doing the cooking? You and your sister, or is everybody pitching
Yes,
it?
me and my sister. She actually, I'm doing like more cooking this year than I would normally do because we actually did not plan to do any cooking this year. We planned to go eat, enjoy ourselves, and relax. So the only way everyone agreed is I would do more cooking this year instead of me sitting back. So I'm actually stepping up in the kitchen this year.
I hear that, and I'm sure that with COVID and since you've had to be in the house a lot, you
Hmm.
probably tried some new dishes that you probably never would have.
Actually, I did. I have a sauce that I came up with, and I was just mixing stuff up at home, and I was like, "Oh, like this is good." So, actually, we've come up with some new recipes and different tweak some things, and move some things around. So, being home was actually a good thing for us.
So I must ask then, what is this sauce and what does it have in it? And do you put it on salad? Does it just go on like, chicken or turkey that's dry? What what's it used for?
It's called rescue sauce, and I actually made it for like ribs and chicken. But my pastor and his wife, our first lady, actually She texted me one day. She said, "I use your sauce on Chipotle." I was like, "Chipotle?" And she said, "Oh my gosh." She said, "You need to call them." So now people are using it on their Chipotle, and I never pictured it for that, but they're using it for Chipotle now.
So you called it rescue sauce. So I guess
Yes.
uh does it rescue the bland flavor and give it something? Like
Yes, it does. Because some people, they'll marinate their ribs and they're like, okay, that's all I need is the marinade. No, you need the rescue sauce to kind of give it that kick. That, put it on there, then let it bake in the oven on top of your ribs, your chicken, and it gives it that extra kick. Like it rescues your food from being bland. Yes.
that is so funny. So, all these people that are saying that it's for Chipotle, does it have more of a spicy taste, more of a tangy? Does it fall on the lines of like a barbecue? Where would you say it's at as far as like flavored wise?
Well, I make it mild or hot. So you can have, it's like a sweet kind of sweet heat. And then some people like that extra heat to it, where it's like, I can't, like this is spicy. So it's sweet and spicy mixed together.
So are you gonna next pitch your idea to like a wing stop to put it on like their challenge test? Do you think it will surpass like the ghost pepper or the Carolina Reaper?
I think it will. And I've actually been trying to shop at different places to try to see who would like to pick up the sauce because it's something that it is amazing. I'll have to definitely send you some sauce and
Oh man.
you'll be like, oh my gosh, like this is the best sauce ever.
Because the only reason why I asked what you used it for was because
Mhm.
I am not a salad dressing person. I'm
Me
probably one of
either.
the weirdest people that somebody's
Mm-mm.
ever met. Even growing up as a kid, my mom and my brother, they liked French or ranch or Italian, some of the common ones. And when I would look at their salad just drenched in that, this is
Hmm.
bad to say, but for some reason I pictured the dish rag that's full of
Oh
like
my
bleachy
goodness.
water and like they're wringing it out. That's literally what I could picture their salad looking like with
Oh
all
my
that dressing.
goodness.
And I just would walk away from it. I'm like, how can you eat this? Because I'm really funny about salad dressing. Even still now, I don't really dive on salad dressing at all. So
I'm with you. I'm with you. I only like the Catalina and honey mustard, and that's it. Those are the only dressings that I care for.
I'm definitely down to try some because I think, sometimes, when we go to the grocery stores now, it's just the common ones that we've seen all of our life. And I feel like as these brands age, their taste changes too.
Yeah.
Um, because I remember a few years ago, we had went to Pizza Hut, and I really don't care for fast food too much, but we had went there, and I said, "I'm tasting this sauce," and I said, "Why does this taste like I don't know, drinking like something sweet? Like for some reason, their pizza
Mm,
sauce tasted sweet to me."
sweet.
And I
Mm.
never remembered their pizza sauce being sweet, like they just put a whole thing of Domino sugar in there.
I've never, yeah, that's something I have never experienced with them. Was it just that particular Pizza Hut or?
Oh, I have no idea. I never went back and don't care to. Look, I'm just saying because you know it's like as time changes, I feel like we need to have a new wave of products, new
Yeah,
barbecue sauces, new, if you're a steak lover, steak sauces, or, salad dressings if you like salad. I think, you know, now is the time for people to get these old things off the shelves, throw them in
yeah,
the trash, and input the new.
I
So,
agree.
Rennee, I want to see yours in like, the next food store. So when I go in there, be like, oh yeah, I tried this. This is really good. I know the person who owns it, definitely. Cause and that's another thing I wanted to ask you too, Rennee. You have this brand,
Hmm.
your inspiring to live brand. And I
Hmm.
told you from when I went to your website, I was just moved buy your products. I think, like I said, I'm a coffee drinker. I love your coffee cup.
Oh, thank you.
Impact over popularity. Where was
Yes.
that at when I was growing up? I needed to see that. And, just that little phrase to me meant so much.
Oh, wow.
You know,
Wow. Thank you.
s- so my question to you is when it comes to, making products and having your own brand,
Hmm.
how do you get that message out to people? Especially when you have all these other bigger brands like Nike, Adidas, that have been out for years. How do
Hmm.
you, get your materials out there to get more people to notice it and definitely patronize?
I, I wrote the local news stations in Maryland, and we were with God's favor. We were on the news 7, 8, 9 those channels picked us up. So just really writing, just emailing, inboxing people, tagging people. I make phone calls. People don't make phone calls anymore. So it's different tools and avenues that I've used and continue to use, and pray, really pray for God's favor, to help me, get out there more. So, and believe it or not, the biggest thing that I've found also is just word of mouth. Um, People, you just do something for one person, or one person likes your brand or your slogan or your idea, they tell one person, and it's just like word of mouth just keeps it going. So all of those different avenues have been working for me.
I think sometimes we forget about word of mouth
We
because of
do.
social media. Um,
Yes. Hmm.
we're all on some type of social media platform, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and we judge a company often now based
Hmm.
on their social media and their, more than
Yes.
their website. So I think that's phenomenal that you say that yours has traveled so far by just word of mouth.
Yes.
And I think
Hmm.
that's kind of like an unspoken art. That's why I think sometimes a lot of businesses don't thrive as well as what they would like to, because
Hmm.
they're not very good at making that in-person connection.
Yes.
I'm old fashioned, Rennee. I still call places. Like, I
Yeah.
had a car appointment one time and I couldn't make it. Like, there was something going on at the house where I couldn't go out there because it's like a 30-40 minute drive. And I called them. I said, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to make it." And they're like, "Oh, thank you so much for calling." And I said, "What? Do people not call anymore?"
Hmm. They
I mean,
don't.
do people just not show up? They, make all
Yeah.
these appointments and just say, "Well, I ain't coming." No, I'm old
Yeah.
fashioned. I have to talk to people, like,
That's me. Yeah.
because I had called one time the one of the banks one time, and the lady was just. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, Rennee. We all have good days and bad days. And I said,
Yeah.
well, maybe she was just having a bad day. But I mean,
Hmm.
she was rude on the phone, and I still said, oh, thank you for your time. Have a good day. And I kindly hung up the phone. But then I called back and got somebody else. Just that human connection, especially right now where we've
Hmm.
all been so, distanced, we've all been
Yes.
forced to stay apart. I think we need to reiterate just the importance of making that phone call, because that phone call, you never know who could answer,
That's
you
right.
know. So, Rennee, I know that you, outside of being an evangelist, a caterer with your own business, you also talked about your book, Bound to Found. So, I want to ask about the title. What is the
Hmm.
significance of the title? How did you pick that?
Um, Believe it or not, I received that title 20 something years ago. Something that God spoke to me. And when I heard it, I was like, from bound to found, and literally began to write about my life and the different things that I experienced. And that title literally fits me, from bound to found.
So, it sounds like, I know that I've read your bio,
Hmm.
that, at one point you were a prisoner.
Yes.
You were a
Yes.
prisoner of your circumstance,
Yes.
you know,
Definitely.
and once you, gave your life over to God,
Hmm.
you were, found. Kind of like you hear those stories about, we had a story here in Cleveland. I'm sure you're familiar with the three girls that were,
In the
held hostage in the
house.
house. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, one of the girls, I remember my friend in high school had
Mm-hmm.
pictures of her in her locker when I was in high school.
Wow.
And, back then in high school, depending on how you grew up, you're a
Mm-hmm.
little sheltered, you know, you,
Yeah.
and I was just like, what, missing? Like, you mean to tell me that nobody has, heard about this woman? Nobody's heard about this girl? And then, sure enough, a few years ago, they were set free. So
Mm.
definitely, I feel that that title is fitting for a lot of us.
Yes, it is. It is because I talked about in my book being bound by, having children at a young age and not knowing who I was, being bound by having low self-esteem, bad relationships, feeling like alcohol was the way to go for me. So I was bound by a lot of different things, and suicide, being homeless, and all of that. I had to really get free from that, mentally, as far as my heart, get my heart clear so that I could really be free. And people don't understand how things play a factor in your life when you don't deal with what it is, talk about it, and actually you're able to move forward from it.
You're so right, Renee. Definitely that mental prison is something else.
Yes, it is.
And
Yes, it
I
is.
think, a lot of us at one point in our life, and some of us still are mentally incarcerated. May not be
Yes.
physically, but mentally
Hmm.
we are. So, Renee, we're gonna be closing out here shortly. What
Okay.
words of advice can you leave with our listeners today? We're kind of in the holiday season. We know the
Hmm.
holidays are gonna look a little different for everybody. What words can you leave with them today?
Don't focus on the materialistic things. Use this time to really enjoy your family. Rather be virtually, rather be, I'm going to drive by and just wave. Just really take this time to enjoy your family, your loved ones, and let them know that you love them. Not by spending money, but just letting it come from the heart.